Thank you for your participation to the event on advancement in telecom sector in India, opportunities for India-Japan collaboration today. 本日はインドにおける電気通信分野の進歩、日印協力の機会にご参加いただきまして誠にありがとうございます。To begin this event, may I request His Excellency Mr. Shibi George, Ambassador of India to Japan, to make inaugural remarks. はじめに駐日インド大使、シビ・ジョージ閣下より開会ご挨拶をいただきます。
Dr. Neeraj Mittal, Secretary, Department of Telecommunications, Ministry of Communications, Government of India. Your Excellency, Mr. Hiroshi Yoshida, Vice Minister, Ministry of Internal Affairs and Communications, Government of Japan. Mr. Ravi A. Robert Gerard, Deputy Director General, Department of Telecommunications. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I am delighted to welcome you all for today's seminar on the theme Advancement in Telecom Sector in India, Opportunities for India-Japan Collaboration. It is an important area of our bilateral relationship, offering significant potential for India and Japan to jointly further grow in our telecommunication sectors through technology convergence and collaboration. I am very happy that we are joined today with my Secretary Dr. Neeraj Mittal and His Excellency Vice Minister Mr. Hiroshi Yoshida. I personally welcome both of you to today's evening. Dear friends, India and Japan share a special strategic and global partnership rooted in shared values, mutual respect, and a common vision for peaceful and prosperous future. The growth of this partnership has been remarkable over the years. It covers cooperation in a wide range of areas, from trade and investment and infrastructure development to critical and emerging technologies and defense and security. This year, we are celebrating the 10th anniversary of this special strategic and global partnership. A key pillar of our bilateral relations is our economic cooperation. Japan, as the fifth largest investor in India, has been a reliable partner in India's economic growth and development. Prime ministers of our two countries have set a target of 5 trillion yen in private public investment from Japan to India, and we are making remarkable progress towards achieving this. Dear friends, India stands as one of the world's fastest growing economies today. From the 10th largest in 2014 to 5th largest in the world today, India's economy is projected to be growing faster in coming years. It is a top destination for foreign investment. This has been made possible due to landmark economic reforms and unprecedented infrastructure development in India. In the light of these transformative changes, I have been actively engaging with the Japanese companies, particularly SMEs, to foster investment opportunities and to promote B2B collaboration between our two countries. So far, I am happy to report that I visited 44 prefectures and engaged with government officials, business representatives, and also other stakeholders to strengthen our engagement and explore the potential for mutual growth and development. The telecom sector in India has witnessed remarkable growth and transformation in recent years, fueled by regulatory reforms and improvements in supporting digital and telecom infrastructure. India's telecom sector is today the world's second largest, with a vast subscriber base and substantial contributions to our GDP. The recent deployment of 5G and steps towards 6G, such as the launch of Bharat 6G Alliance, highlight our rapid technological advancements with a significant support from initiatives like the Production Linked Incentive Scheme, which has given a push to domestic manufacturing. Japan, as a key investor and a leader in technologies like 5G and AI, brings invaluable expertise. Collaborative efforts between India and Japan, including joint R&D and harmonization of regulatory frameworks, can accelerate innovation and address needs of our two countries as well as the world more effectively. Already, our cooperation under the 2021 MOC has laid a foundation for enhanced engagement in ICT and has paved the way for advancing cooperation in areas such as 5G, beyond 5G, telecom security, submarine cable systems, etc. Our countries are also collaborating in under the Quad framework, notably in the area of 5G, supplier diversification, and open RAN. Japan's private sector has a major role to play in all this. There are success stories of Japanese companies' participation in India's telecom sector, for example, in the field of submarine cables. I recently visited Andaman and Nicobar Islands in India, which have been connected with the submarine cables by a Japanese major company. I understand that a few Japanese companies are currently exploring opportunities together with Indian companies in the area of 5G and beyond 5G. The future holds immense potential for both our countries to lead in telecommunications, driving growth and technological innovation. I would also like to underline that cooperation in telecom sector is important, not just from a commercial point of view, but also has a strategic and economic security aspect. As two countries with growing convergence in their strategic outlook and shared values, it is important for India and Japan to advance cooperation in this critically important sector for economic security. I am hopeful that today's event will further promote our collaborative efforts in this field. I thank you all for joining us today. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you, sir, for your inaugural remarks. Next, I would like to request Mr. Hiroshi Yoshida, Vice Minister, Ministry of Internal Affairs and Communications, Government of Japan, to make a remarks. 続きまして、総務省総務審議官、吉田博様よりご挨拶をいただきます。
Thank you, Your Excellency, Ambassador C.B. George, and Dr. Neeraj Mittal, Secretary, Department of Telecommunications, Ministry of Communications, probably he is online, and the representatives of the Embassy of India in Tokyo, and the distinguished guests. My name is Hiroshi Yoshida, Vice Minister for Policy Coordination at the Ministry of Internal Affairs and Communications, MIC. First of all, I would like to thank you for inviting me here today at the Advancements in Telecommunications Sector India Opportunities for India-Japan Collaboration. I would like to express my sincere gratitude and appreciation to those who worked towards to make this event possible. I'm sure we can agree that in recent years, relations between Japan and India have been strong and positive. We know that India is a country with an established democracy and freedom of speech has shown a high rate of economic growth, as indicated by Ambassador C.B. George. And as a central position to the so-called global south, its voice in the international community has greatly increased. India and Japan are now key partners in realizing the goal of the free and open Indo-Pacific strategy. As member of the Quad, we also have promoted our efforts towards this goal. Last year in particular, as Japan took the presidency for the G7 and India for the G20, both countries led the discussion in the international community in political field as well as the economic field. Under this momentum, the Japan-India cooperation is accelerating through the frequent summit meetings, as well as our engagements, exchanges, and shared efforts on many levels. In particular, the ICT brings various changes in the social economy by utilizing rapidly developing digital technology. It brings development in sustainable society, improvements in the quality of life, revitalization of the economy, and solution to social issues. To promote cooperation in these areas, our ministry and the Ministry of Communications of India agreed on the Japan-India ICT Comprehensive Cooperation Framework in 2014, thus bringing together public and private sectors for discussions in the Japan-India Joint Working Group, which had so far convened 7 times. Also in 2021, a memorandum of cooperation in the ICT field was signed to strengthen our relationship. Recently, cooperation in communication infrastructure such as 5G Open RAN, submarine cables, and quantum communications have been cited as main topics of high interest. We would like to deepen discussions in these areas through opportunities such as joint working group. Our ministry also supports the private sector's investment and economic activities. For instance, NEC participated in this submarine cable project to connect mainland India to the Lakshadweep Islands, as proposed by Prime Minister Modi in 2020, and NEC just completed its construction last summer. Also, the NTT Group and JICT, a Japanese investment fund in this sector, invested in the development and operation of data center in Mumbai. This fiscal year, we are considering support for several projects. These include the deployment of communication equipment using Japan's ORAN technology in India, as well as collaboration with manufacturers in India related to beyond 5G or 6G architecture developed by Japan. We are considering conducting a survey to gauge interest in such projects. We look forward to continuing our close relationship with the Indian government, the Indian Embassy in Tokyo, business from both countries, and discussion to promote the strengthening of our relations. Thank you very much.
吉田審議官、ありがとうございました。Next, I would like to request His Excellency Dr. Neeraj Mittal, Secretary, Telecom, Department of Telecommunications, Ministry of Communications, Government of India to make a remark by online. 続きまして、インド政府通信省電気通信局事務次官、ニーラジ・ミッタル係より、オンラインでご挨拶をいただきます。スクリーンをご覧くださいませ。
Mr. C.B. George, other colleagues at the embassy and from industry, our sincere apologies first because we had to reschedule the JWG due to unavoidable circumstances, but we promise to make it up very soon. This seminar on advancement in telecom sector opportunities in India and between the two countries is seminal and very timely in nature, because as the ambassador pointed out that India-Japan relationships can't be on a better footing ever than they are today. The leaders of the two nations have a very strong personal bond and relationship, and the countries have a similar relationship which has withstood the test of time for decades. Fortunately, for both the countries, India is a rising force in the manufacturing capacity for the world. Our achievements in being able to ramp up the production of mobile phones, coming up with DPI infrastructure like Aadhaar and others, have been a source of inspiration to not only Indians, but also in many countries where such infrastructure finds applications. The rollout of 5G in India over the last year and a half has been at a breakneck speed, leading to almost doubling or trebling of the download speeds and kicking off of an effort through roughly 100 5G labs to bring about the use case proliferation across the Indian manufacturing, industrial, health, education sectors. India has been also trying to be at the forefront of technology. Our 4G development, indigenous technology is almost there. We are also working simultaneously on 5G, NSA and SA, leading to the 6G movement. We look forward for collaboration with the Japan industry, academia, and government on several emerging technologies. These include collaboration with the giants of Japan, including NEC, Fujitsu, KDDI, R&D Labs, Hitachi, and many other companies who are working in telecom space, who we want to bring and provide them the necessary support in possibly accessing Indian market, setting up manufacturing facilities in areas where Government of India is trying to bring about India as a world manufacturing destination, especially in semiconductors, through PLI schemes, telecom equipment in the entire supply chain, from networking to the user equipment to servers, on security through innovations and work in CDOT through quantum key distribution technologies, on 6G by establishing test beds, where we actually really look forward for collaboration with Japan. We look forward to innovative 5G use case partnerships and field trials, our Indian scale deployment in Open RAN technology, which His Excellency Mr. also mentioned, joint working group for 5G and beyond, and 6G research and development standards. And as I said earlier, research and collaboration on quantum communications. I am sanguine that our relationship and efforts will take definitive form, especially as we look forward to welcoming you in October to the India Mobile Congress, which is being hosted on the sidelines of the larger event, which is the World Telecom Standards Assembly by the ITU from 14th to 24th of October. We are glad that the Japanese embassy here in New Delhi has shown very positive interest in setting up a Japan pavilion at the India Mobile Congress. We hope to see yourself, His Excellency, and your leadership team in India. And in the meanwhile, we look forward to working together with you and hoping that the JWG we can reschedule soon and bring out some concrete results in these areas as I have mentioned. Thank you for your time, and my apologies again to the Japanese side for having to request for rescheduling the JWG. Thank you so much.
Next, I would like to request Mr. A. Robert Gerald Ravi, Deputy Director General, Department of Telecommunications, Ministry of Communications, Government of India to make a presentation virtually. 続きまして、インド政府電気通信局部長、ジェラルド・ラビ様よりオンラインでご講演いただきます。
Hello. Hello. MSC of India.
Get it now. Cool. We thought we got disconnected, so we're just checking. Thank you.
His Excellency Vice Minister, am I audible? Yeah. His Excellency Ambassador of India to Japan, His Excellency Vice Minister, Ministry of Internal Affairs and Communications, Government of Japan. It's a great privilege for us to showcase what we have done, our advancement in the telecom sector, the Bharat growth story, what we say, the focus of on our telecom revolution, and then where are the scopes wherein we can have some sort of collaboration effort. See, India has been at the driver of the global growth. We have been the fifth largest economy, the robust growth rate of 7.2%. We have reached a GDP of 3.75 trillion in this year. We are adding more, approximately 0.75 trillion we are adding every 2 years. There is a record export of around 750 billion last year we did. And this augurs well to the population. We have a very skilled and a young population. 65% of the population is under 35 years, with around more than 43 million in the higher education. And we have around 100,000 registered Indian startups, which is also into the ecosystem, or a very cost-effective workforce. There are a lot of structural reforms also happened in the country, with the GST, the insolvency, bankruptcy code, the UPI, it was a very game-changing one, and the disinvestment policy. This is the structural reforms the country took. And the financial sector also, we did a lot of efforts in terms of financial inclusion, the stock market reforms, and the direct tax reforms. So all these enabled the growth, was a driver of the global growth of the country. This led to a large digital transformation in the country. Just if you can divide it into three sectors, how the digital infrastructure got penetrated, a lot of preference towards digital interactions, and there is a lot of impact on the sectoral growth. If you take the digital infrastructure itself, there is a statistics shows by 2030, more than 1.1 billion Indians will be in the net, and we will be the second largest user base in the internet sector also. The online shoppers are also growing leaps and bounds, bound to increase around 500 million by 2030. And the e-commerce is also growing at a very rapid pace. All this to show that how the consumers are really moving towards on the digital front. Even if you take a sectoral impact, these online has really brought in an impact in almost all areas. One particular area is the food industry, where we can see more 44% is consuming online today. So with this, what actually drew the government initiatives? The government initiatives have a very clear, we have put a very clear focus of our Digital India program, which we aimed at transforming India into a regional digitally empowered society. We put a lot of factors like UPIs, the DigiLockers, etc. We're glad to say that DigiLocker, which actually stores this information, we have more than 160 million registration happening there. And we have more than around 100 million odd in the internet subscribers being added in the last 2-3 years. The UPI is a real payment gate interface, which we are actually showcasing it to a number of countries. We have taken this to a number of countries in the African region, even in the US, with certain areas of development of this UPI. The data protection bill also has been out in 2023. It is actually making a very big impact to ensure that the personal data is being safeguarded against misuse. Another, the economy, the e-commerce thing grew up because of the ONDC. It was a complete decentralized network that was completely open on a complete open platform that enables the local commerce industry also. So this actually, let me quickly talk a bit about the digital public infrastructure we spoke about. The public infrastructure had three pillars: the public good, which is actually driven by the platforms itself, and we had the deep tech which supported this platform, and the real ecosystem builder. On the public good, if you see today, we have a large-scale public platforms called the HADA, the LPCI, the COVIN. All these are not-for-profit institutions protecting the private interests and against misuse of AI data. All this has been driven through complete deep tech. We have AI, advanced open source, all cloud ready. We are trying to add it a layer of quantum. I think that we already mentioned, we are already having quantum enabled security, QKD boxes also developed by our organization, CDOT, the research organization. So we are pushing in a big way of the quantum, the 5G, of course, a lot of research areas happening in the 6G technology. So which in short, the deep tech is going to assure us a low cost, asset light, high speed payment. That is the target which we are thinking on. The ecosystem to drive all this public sector, the ecosystem itself was really the government regulatory policies were all completely innovation led. It supported a lot of independent ecosystem. The ecosystem was completely being led today by the local innovation itself. This gives a snapshot of the telecom sector that is today with around 600 odd licenses in the access network. We have around 1,900 in the carrier. Even the internet service providers, we are around 3,000 odd licenses across the country. And we have even MTM service providers today offering specifically like smart meters, IoT, where we are given licenses to around 187 licenses in this particular industry. And the revenue of the industry is around 40 billion as per the last year's statistics. So the telecom sector's parameters are really healthy. We are having a 1.2 billion subscriber base with 800 billion smartphone users, almost 50% of the population are having smartphones, privileged number of million connections, internet connection. The speeds have gone up to 50 megabits. The cost per GB has come down to 0.2, and our 5G rollout reached around 100 million in 1 year. This gives us a small snapshot where we stand on the global level. We can see that the tariff is the 7th lowest in the world. Today we have just only 16 cents per GB of data, with the average compared to other countries as shown in the table. So that's 7th lowest in the world. We can see the mobile download speeds. This really jumped up. We were ranked around 105 2 years before. Today we are 18th ranked. That shows the speed has improved, and we are today around 50 M speeds being offered, and even at some of the rural places also we are offering. What are the achievements we have done in the mobile connectivity? This gives a shot. The 4G footprint actually grew up to 100%. Today we are almost having 99% of footprint across footprint. 99% is on 4G. The 4G village coverage, roughly around 6 lakh villages are covered in the 4G village coverage. We have the internet users, roughly around 850 million internet users today. And the 5G network, we are having close to around 420 base stations. 420,000 base stations we've been installed. And it is the fastest rollout of the 5G network probably in the world, that we were able to do it in a year's time with smartphones, approximately to 670 million smartphones. In the fiber connectivity also, we have done remarkable work the last 5 years. The OFC network today, we have more than around 36 lakh kilometers. And we have more than 27 million homes with fiber, with 9.4% homes today covered on fiber FTTH to each of these places. This only gives an idea only on the, we are talking about homes, but we are also having an open facility where a cluster of say even 100 homes could be on a fiber, driven through a fiber. That sort of an arrangement is also available in this fiber connectivity. And the government has supported the BharatNet network. Through the BharatNet connections, we have connected more than around 200,000 GPs, and today we are having around 550,000 fiber to the home connections that is available today. Innovation also, we have been fairly doing well. We are the third largest startup ecosystem in the world. We have more than 111 unicorns that have been created. We have two different funding for the telecom sector, which is just to focus only on development and research initiatives. Like for example, we have $60 million given only for 8 projects which we have done in the TTDF1. DCIS is another scheme where we are trying to close to, we have been supporting more than 126 projects at various things, and these are all resulted in creating a lot of IPRs for the country. Another very important project the government is pushing from the telecom project side was we are doing a lot of advanced technology promotions. Like, for example, we are setting up the advanced optical communication test bed. Added to it the quantum security also through a consortium with IIT Chennai. We are also building what we have the 140 GHz fully integrated transmission receiver for the 6G network by one of our IITs. We are also having built an encrypted communication system even at the hardware base. If you remember, the quantum could be the hardware software. Even the hardware itself, we are doing some sort of an encryption. That's some of the projects we have been done. We are also doing a 6G terahertz test bed with OEM and multiplexing with Samir. We have invested, the DOT is directly funded this amount for the test bed. This is where we are looking at a lot of collaboration with the entity, which we are already doing on similar lines, how we can take this forward in a more collaborative approach. We are also doing something as a bit on the quantum communication. Quantum communication, we are trying to do real quantum teleportation networks. We are working with US to set up a quantum teleportation network from US to India. We would also be glad to explore the possibility of really ensuring a quantum teleportation network. Can we do it from New Delhi to Japan, to Tokyo? So that will again enable us to be one of the pioneers in the quantum communication sector also. On the network security, yes, we have done fairly well. We are very ensuring that the security is completely a key priority for us. We are having what we call the Telecom Security Operations Center, which completely monitors 25/7 what is happening on the cyber attacks. We have our own WhatsApp equivalent support system, the SAMWAT we call it. And we introduced for the QKD a bit of the secure communication for the quantum computers. So we are also setting up between government offices complete secure line through this QKD network, which could be a complete secure communication for all the government offices. That's one of the areas which we are developing. We are more open to some real collaborative approaches in Japan when we can really do something on the cryptography, the quantum side. We are also doing a lot of work on enterprise security centers, the quantum key contribution, and development of this one M2M IoT platform, which we have done. We have also done a lot of initiatives in the 5G, which we are trying to take it forward to the 6G. In the 5G, we did a lot of high-level forums, a lot of recommendations came up. The Indianized standard were taken to the floor. For the first time, we had our own 5G high, where we called the ubiquity connectivity. That standard was put to the for the first time to the, in ITU, and it got it approved thanks to member countries like Japan, who supported this initiative of the country also to be one of the first standards in 5G also, which actually aimed at improving the connectivity in the rural areas. India is slightly peculiar. The reason there are areas where we have a sparse population in the rural areas where we need to have large amount of coverage, low mobility, but it requires speed. So that brought out this concept of ubiquitous connectivity, which we were able to build it as a standard. We also completed the complete infrastructure up and running for our indigenous 5G test beds. So that say any of our startups or ecosystem can bring into the RAN equipment or the CEO or devices. They can go to this test bed and they can do the testing and they can see a real-time environment of a 5G ecosystem up and running. We wanted to do the same thing to the 6G. We are setting up the 6G test bed also, which will be operational in the next 24 months. In promoting this application, as we all know that use case plays a really very important role. If there is no use case, today we have the 5G network up and running, but there is no proper use cases. So we are also trying to set up a different ecosystem. What we did was we set up 100 5G labs across the country, where we brought in an innovation to the academic institutions, the universities, to take part in this process and then push up this case of complete learning on this 5G, through which specialized sector-specific 5G use cases could evolve. Some of these use cases which we can share offline is really of great interest, which we may not even sit and think what could be done, could be easily driven at from the rural places. So that we were able to do it. We were able to push vertical engagement partnership, hackathons across the country. These are the few areas which we require some sort of a cooperation from Japan also, especially the use case application, because we talk about 5G use case. Even in the 6G, the first thing comes about what are the use cases we're going to have. We talk about networks and sensor networks, immersive education, etc. How are we going to push these particular things? We would love to have more collaboration with Japan and with universities to get more information, and we can even jointly come up with a use case example or a trial or a project whenever required. This is one area which I would request to have to explain to our Japanese friends. There is our open RAN ecosystem in India is also grown up. We have some of our partners which have completely implemented our own startups who are also in this ORAN alliance. We are even slightly expanding this ORAN to what we call an open RAN, total open RAN network in my 6G era. So we have a CU, DU, RU, everything independently working across. We are even glad to say that one of our startups, the YZ network, is actually testing a few of these ORAN products in universities in US, like Virginia University, etc. As we speak now, these testings are going on. We are very sure that Japan has done a tremendous work on this ORAN. 6G, I am very sure, apart from the 3GPP standards, we will also need to talk about the open RAN access system of the 6G. So that is another area which we really love to work with Japan to see how synchronous harmony relations could be brought about our startup ecosystem on the ORAN and your Japanese counterparts on the ORAN system. Our OEM system is very, very vibrant. We have special divisions that handles the patents, standards, etc. That is your Bharat 6G Alliance, the TSJC group. I'll come back to this Bharat 6G Alliance, which we already signed alliance with a number of places at a later slide. We also did, there are certain, we are even catalyzing some of the domestic R&D to come up with clear design initiatives. So design linked, we are giving incentive for design linked incentives we are promoting through our TTDF and our use of funds. We are even doing productivity linked incentives for the telecom components for increasing the import substitution, not only for within our country, even for other players. Even if some of the Japan the companies are interested to come in and then start some sort of a production with certain amount of some benchmarking, they are also open to these PLI initiative incentives that is available. And we are also made it a very clear market access for preference in Make in India and exports as a line of credit for this telecom projects. This shows some of the key industry players in each of the area. We have some players who are only doing this 4G 5G RAM, which we are trying to extend it to 6G. We are having some players only in the fiber to the home, optical transport. Optical transport, we are glad to say that a few of our companies like Tejas and CDOT have done one of the best optical transport network in their routers, or what we call the MAN routers, MAN access routers. They're being completely up and running for even big service providers. We are doing a lot of switching and routing, the fiber services, the NMS, the CPEs, the core network of 4G, 5G, 6G core, which we are thinking in the 6G era, the core will more or less remain, only the RAN will change. So we are trying to make use of these companies to come up with the core aspect also. And the most important portion, we are also pushing on satellite, where we are also trying to do a project where using my mobile, can I directly talk to through a satellite? So we are trying to put a G-Node B on a satellite, which can revolve and then carry it to areas, sparsely populated areas where we cannot have coverage. So we are also doing some work on the satellite era, not only for the G-Node B putting on a satellite, we are also thinking of putting a quantum secure devices. So can I put a chip in my phone? I make a secure communication. These are some of the projects which are bringing, wherein I can put a QRM chip in my smartphone. I have entropy algorithm put on my RAN network. I have an end-to-end completely secure call when I make a phone call. That's how some of the areas which we are mainly working on. This matrix is the one I wanted to show that we are doing a lot of telecom exports last year in terms of fibers, conductors, SIM cards, apparatus, etc. And the next slide shows that these are the top 12 countries where we are exporting this telecom export. We would really like to engage with Japan to see which portion of the telecom export we can also take it to you, and so that you also should try to figure the top 10 probably in the next year. That's our wish. We would always glad to work together and see what are the points we can take up. In the Indian policies, we are also done a number of policies like Invent in India policies. Like we put a lot of R&D funding from our TDF, which they say roughly around 100 million per annum. We have been doing only for new innovative ideas. We are funding this as a grant, not even totally as a grant. We are giving up. We are doing 100 test labs, which I told you. These are test labs. We are also developing what we call 5G ecosystems, which means I am even taking a few villages from my country, and I make these villages as intelligent. So my 5G use cases are later when 6G comes in. These use cases could be actually tested in these villages, and these villages will become intelligent villages for me. So that is another thing which we are trying to do. We are doing a lot of work on quantum. Quantum, as I mentioned, the National Quantum Mission is having a 1 billion fund which we are doing. We are more concentrating on quantum communication. More specifically, we are trying to do something on the quantum teleportation. As we all know, there's one particular area of interest which is being done in Japan, US, and India, is the vacuum beam guide based quantum teleportation. So we are already going to fund a few of these organizations, government institutions, to run this as a trial for a 1 kilometer, a complete, how I can put a vacuum beam guide, and then I can use quantum source for transportation of this teleportation of your data from one place to another. So this is also one area which we will be glad we have collaboration with Japan. And then we are doing this India chipset vision. We with a 10 billion fund, we are set up, and we are also trying to isolate and find what are the key requirements. Like for example, the SIG SoC or my chip which is required for modem. Specifically, we have a team working on it. So there's a rich competencies is happening in my global innovation. That's what I wanted to say. And this policy is further divided into what I say, can I drive global standards? We have very good organizations today doing that. We are pushing it really in a global standard. We require your support on all these standards, whatever we bring in. We are doing consistent participation by giving sufficient subsidy to some startups so that they also participate in the standardization efforts. We are catalyzing the domestic R&D by giving a number of design-linked initiatives, etc. So these catalyzing the R&D field. We are increasing the global value through the value addition we are adding by giving them PLI schemes, we are helping them with PMP. And then we are doing a number of pilot proof of concepts where we give money for the startup ecosystem to go and test in an environment if it is possible, whether it is okay or not. So in the standards contribution, we are also even segregated what is sector-wise. Can I do something in health, education, technology, entertainment? In these areas, what is the standard I should concentrate? We have put certain groups, working groups, working on each one of it. And then we wanted to also say beyond connectivity, because as we all know, unless we are driven by the 6G use cases or the 5G use cases, the 6G or 5G is really not going to take up. So the beyond connectivity, coverage experience, driving the R&D and innovation is really happening. We want your help and support in any of these areas, whatever is feasible. And on the 5G development, the 6G ready, as we all know, we can proudly say today we have a completely indigenously developed complete 4G IMS network that is available in the country, which has been rolled out in one of the largest service provider, public service provider in the country. So we have done it. We have our CDOT, which is the R&D arm of the TO or the DOT, is doing a lot of flavors of 5G RAN. We are trying to build what our own Bharat RAN itself. As in our own, we are spending monies on different startups to become with an ecosystem to build on it. We are also released this 5G vision, Bharat 5G 6G vision document, which was actually embarked on affordable, ubiquitous, sustainable version. These are the 3 pillars on which we are working on it, so that we give a high quality living experience for the world using this connectivity. And of course, we are also having a work which is going on. Can I add quantum everywhere? So in your core, in your RAN or in your the wireless access network, everywhere I can add quantum. So it's a quantum core, quantum RAN, quantum service, etc. This is also one of the key works which we are doing, trying to bring quantum assisted communication into the 6G area itself. That's one of the area we are talking about. This is the 6G testbed which we spoke about. We are trying to ensure is completely up and running. We will look forward for some sort of a collaboration with the entity to get some knowledge more about how to go about this particular testbed jointly. We are also done this advanced communication testbed as a consortium, where we are trying to enable technologies to scale up from gigabits to pegabits per second. That is what the interest. And then we are trying to promote indigenous development, not only in networks. Now we are even go up to devices level and subsystem level, so that even your SFPs, we are even developing your SFPs, etc. also as small devices, promoting this indigenous development at our various centers. Within the next 2 years, we should have all this up and running. And we have also called for a proposal, accelerated research proposal from all our institutions. And I'm glad to say 200 institutions across the country has applied in this, and we have more than 470 proposals on 6G. We are bucketed into 20 different bucketed areas like fluid cell, fluid antennas, we have systematic communication, band networks, etc. Based on these stuff, also we are able to see that can we fund some of these projects, so that on the 6G we are what we call as accelerated research on 6G is also going up. Bharat 6G Alliance is the other unit which DOT department has formed, which is pushing the alliances in a different way. We are glad to sign that we have already signed agreement with NextG Alliance in USA. We also signed the agreement with the European Union on the 6G IA. We are in talks with the counterparts in Japan. We would like to see that sooner we sign that also, so that we are all together in the 6G Alliance also. With this, I come to my last slide, which we wanted to see that how do we help ourselves in strengthening what we are requesting for some sort of a support or collaboration from the Japan side. And we are also open for the Japan firms to also to come down and help us, as we already mentioned, the number of incentives available. We are having running a number of 5G use cases. Can we do some sort of a partnership? Can we do some sort of a trials, field trials, both in India and Japan? So we can go there and we can showcase our thing. Your team can come back and showcase some of these case applications. Can we have some sort of a joint working group working specifically on some pilot testing of your Japan OEMs and on your Open RAN technology, and Indian OEMs also in the Open RAN technology? In short, the startups which have developed the Open RAN ecosystem in the country could given an opportunity to test in Japan, and Japan's ecosystem could also be tested in our country. And we are also setting up this 5G test bed, which I told. Can we do some sort of a real collaborative effort to see that, yes, India, Japan has brought out this particular research event that has happened in 6G. We'll be glad to explore that. And as we mentioned, we are also more eager to have the quantum teleportation link set up between Delhi and Tokyo, and various opportunities on the vacuum beam guide, which is only 3 countries which I mentioned is doing some study on it. Unfortunately, the LIGO is up and running for our country today. So I can simply use this LIGO's infrastructure to do it in my quantum applications. That's all from my side, and thank you for patient listening. We welcome you all to India to set up your factories and help us. And we are welcoming the Japanese companies here, and we are also collaborate ourselves in further research. Thank you.
Now we will screen videos on advancement in telecom sector in India and on World Telecommunications Standardization Assembly。続きまして、インドにおける電気通信セクターの発展と世界電気通信標準化総会についてのビデオを2本上映いたします。スクリーンをご覧くださいませ。
One of the major users of telecom products and services in the world, and is also an attractive destination for manufacturing with an ecosystem of skilled manpower and ease of doing business.
टेलीकॉम इक्विपमेंट मार्केट में भी भारत के डिजाइन चैंपियंस का सामर्थ्य हम सभी जानते हैं। अब इसके लिए जरूरी R&D इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर और प्रक्रियाओं को आसान बनाने पर हमारा विशेष फोकस है।
It is therefore not surprising that India boasts of $13.9 billion of export in telecom equipment. Under the visionary leadership of the Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, the Make in India initiative has transformed India into a bustling hub of global manufacturing prowess. The Government of India has implemented 2 key policies, namely preference to Make in India and production-linked incentives. which have encouraged both domestic and international companies to manufacture their products in India. These policies have led to increased domestic value addition and have attracted global multinationals that previously imported telecom products into India. These companies are now partnering with local electronics manufacturing services companies and using India as a manufacturing base, not only to meet domestic demands, but also to export to other countries. Many Indian companies have transitioned from traditional assembly-led manufacturing to design-led manufacturing, focusing on higher domestic value addition and research and development. The Department of Telecom has supported R&D efforts by granting 1,000 crore rupees to 300 innovators through the DCIS and TTDF schemes. These visionary initiatives have resulted in numerous success stories, including the development of an indigenous 4G stack and a robust 5G stack, a wide range of 5G applications, and a clear roadmap for future 6G technology. The nation's indigenous 5G chip showcases India's technological prowess. With triumphant deployment of communication systems in prestigious telecom, railway, and banking, the country's telecom stack is poised to be deployed on foreign soil. India will be part of US's Rip and Replace is a testimony to this. Telecom equipment manufacturing under PLI is expected to grow at a rate of 45% to cater to the global market and reach a figure of around $8 billion by 2027.
Let us work together to make India a global hub for telecom equipment design, development and manufacturing.
India is one of the major users of telecom products and services in the world and is also an attractive destination for manufacturing with an ecosystem of skilled manpower and ease of doing business.
The umbrella of International Telecommunication Union, or ITU, to decide on policies, regulations and standards for telecom and ICT. Standards play a critical role in development of telecom products and services. These standards are developed by member states and other ITU members. India has been a founding member of ITU and has contributed to the development of telecom standards. India has a vibrant standardization ecosystem. Little wonder that India stands at an important position in international standardization organizations by virtue of its contribution for innovative, well-researched solutions and standards. India is proud to be instrumental in developing 5 GI standards of ITU. This makes India a natural partner in realizing the vision of ITU as a connected society and accomplishing the Sustainable Development Goals 2030 using telecom and ICTs.
ITU के साथ भी फ्यूचर टेक्नोलॉजी के स्टैंडर्डाइजेशन के लिए मिलकर के काम करेंगे। ITU की वर्ल्ड टेलीकम्युनिकेशन स्टैंडर्डाइजेशन असेंबली अक्टूबर में दिल्ली में ही आयोजित की जाएगी।
In this endeavor, India is privileged to host World Telecommunication Standardization Assembly 2024 from 15th to 24th October 2024, preceded by Global Standard Symposium on 14th October 2024 at Bharat Mandapam in New Delhi.
We will now conclude the seminar on advancement in telecom sector in India, opportunities for India-Japan collaboration today. Thank you very much for your participation. 以上をもちまして、本日のイベントを終了とさせていただきます。皆様ご参加いただきまして誠にありがとうございました。We will have a networking session with light refreshment at the foyer outside of this venue from now. Please join us. この後、軽食付きのネットワーキングセッションをこの会場